Support for Talking Town is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Hold up, fellas. I don't think we've quite understood what I'm talking about here. We've gone years in the UK without using the right tools for the job. Long gone are the days of a razor blade in the mirror. No more shall we look like Sideshow Bob down there. Manscaped have redesigned the electric trimmer. Their engineering team have perfected the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created and have just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0 in the UK. Their third generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents because nobody wants a bloodbath in the bathroom. Did I tell you it's got waterproof technology so you can dim those lights, get yourself in the shower and groom to your heart's content? Whatever you do, however you do it with Manscaped's Lawnmower 3.0. And don't forget, you can get 20% off and free delivery with the code TT. Manscaped.com. Make your testes their besties. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends. We've got a very special show for you this afternoon. I'm incredibly excited, like a kid in a sweet shop, going through the show today. So many memories coming back, some things that you'd forgotten and hidden away in the back of your mind, and some things that you could never, ever forget. And of course, one of those is a fantastic day that will live with me forever. As always, please hit subscribe. I hear the new town shirts are being delivered. So as they are being delivered, the competition will draw to a close. So it's still open. You can still win a home or away shirt courtesy of Talking Town just by what? Just by subscribing. That's all you got to do. It's nice and easy. 1, 2, 3. As always, we pride ourselves on being live, interactive, for the fans, by the fans. So this is a live show. There'll be a link. There's a live active chat. Let's get our memories, our questions, our comments in to who is an absolute legend, one of the best I've certainly ever seen play in a blue and white shirt. And an orange one, which is equally just as nice. And that brings back another memory. Bolton, of course. How could you forget? Right, we've got some comments coming in. Emerson, Fairweather, afternoon all. Looking forward to hearing from one of my favourite players. Absolutely. Good evening, Colin. Afternoon, rather, Colin. Away Day Beers Company. LED lights for all those late night trimming sessions. Absolutely, Josh. And I've got your advert coming up in just a little while. Beautiful it is. Of course, you can get your beer from Away Day Beers Company. I had a butcher's bandage last night, and I've been feeling a little bit delicate this morning. It might have been the second one I had that tipped it, but at 5% beer, maybe that's not for me anymore. But it's a fantastic taste, and it just left me feeling a bit hungover. I've been hungover in years. Mark Rattle, afternoon all, feeling rather dodgy this afternoon. Thanks to Away Day Beers. There we go, as the theme. But it's a fantastic beer. Right, he paid to see this man on Thursday night, but today you get it for free. It's, of course, our hard truth. Mr. Moss, how you doing?
A rather magnificent Marcus Stewart coaster as well.
Oh, beautiful. Sorry, there we go. Beautiful. Lovely. Obviously, you paid to see the man on Thursday. How was Thursday night?
Fantastic.
And what have our audience got in store for them this afternoon?
Loads of stories. Look, you meet your heroes sometimes, Martin, don't you? And it's a bit of a disappointment. And obviously, he was one of your favourite players. He's one of my favourite players. One of the best strikers I've seen in 37 years of watching Town. But absolutely top guy as well. You know, brilliant. Colin was with me. Colin was loving it. He was getting his shirt signed. He was like a kid in a sweet shop, and he's like 64. So yeah, really looking forward to it. Bit nervous because I hope we can do him justice. But I think when you're a bit nervous, I think look, we always deliver on whoever we've had on. So I've got some stats here and mind blowing. Over 250 career goals, Martin.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow. Yeah, that is an instinctive striker, as Stephen Parry says. Harry Butcher, I love the video where Marcus was in tears about my club. It's what it means to all of us. Yeah, I think everyone has. That's obviously the Kings of Anglia playoff documentary. Go and check it out if you haven't. Although I think by now everyone's seen it. It's an amazing watch and a particular poignant moment from Marcus there.
Yeah, massive. You know, he was only here for a short space of time. Only two
short, really.
Seasons, and it was. You think he got 34 goals in just under 80 games, amazing. And you think you just wanted a little bit more, didn't we? Another couple of seasons. We did. So instinctive, you know. Then one-on-ones where he went through all the time in the world. It looked, and then he'd sit the goalie down. I remember the goal at Everton when he went through. I think he went round Paul Gerrard, went round the defender, played a 1-2 off the defender on the line, and then just rolled it in. And it was. I remember that game, Martin. We went there and we won 3-0.
Yeah.
And we got a standing ovation from their fans. You know.
So many good times. And of course, you've got the one where I think Stefan Honcho is still trying to turn himself the right way around. He's literally turned Stefan Honcho, who's a great defender in his own right, inside out, every which way, and then just slotted it like it's. Did
we win? I think we won 9 away games that season, didn't we?
We did.
Incredible. When you think of it, teams coming up, and nobody has done as well as us. We've still got that record, finishing 5th in our first season in the Premier League, and no one's beaten it so far.
Well, there you go. They keep trying. Let's bring in a little bit of credibility to the show. Here she is, Mrs. Award-winning worldwide Kate Riley. But now he's come back into the side, and he's made that position his own, and he's really hit a consistent run of form.
You asking me?
I am.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I brought her in. There she is. Sorry. How are you doing, Kate?
Touche. That was a bit of a karma for you.
I was watching Marcus laugh at it, and I was thinking, hey, I'm glad somebody laughs at it. But how you doing?
I'm well, yeah. Got my first vaccine booked for tomorrow. We've had a lovely 4th of July celebration here. A couple of American friends came over. We all had home-cooked food. We're all sort of quite homesick, but we made the most of the day. So at what point during this podcast do I tell Marcus he was my all-time Ipswich Town crush?
You just told him.
I think you've just done it. Wow, that's wow, that's impressive. That is, because we've had some good-looking players over the years. We've had some really good players over the years, but Marcus was a secret vine. There we go. Was it the goals? Was it the gloves? It was the gloves, wasn't it?
It was the gloves. He was a little bit older than me, so never got the chance to interview him. So we were sort of ships in the night. So he was the one that got away, shall we say?
There you go. Yeah, in many ways, including away from the football club, sadly. This, I was just saying before you came on, there's so many memories that when you think about this player and you look through the archive and you go through the goals, as I did over the last couple of days, it's just so many memories. What's your particular Marcus moment? We've all got a moment. We've all got one.
Okay, so when you work in sports media, there's like a lot of Liverpool fans all over the world.
Yeah.
So it has to be the year 2000, Marcus scoring at the Cop End, Ipswich winning 1-0 against Liverpool.
It's a moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
so many.
It's bragging rights. We also come across a lot of Manchester United fans in the media. So I feel as though that performance versus any performance against, a particular performance against Manchester United balances it out. So Marcus, thank you for giving me some bragging rights on the sports desk.
How old did you then, Martin, in 2000?
I was 11. Nearly 12.
You weren't at Anfield. You weren't there. I was there. I'll tell you what. What a day! You go there and you think we're not going to look. We never done anything there. We had Adam Tanner on, didn't we? He was the first. Got the first win there, and you think that was a team that got relegated. Look at all the great teams we had under Burley, under Bobby Robson. We never got a win there. So to go there under George and turn them over 1-0, brilliant.
It really was, yeah. And being at the age I was, I really idolised those players. They were my team. I'm a big Matt Holland fan. I've made that public.
He had a
in many
collection, didn't he?
ways.
Did you give him your pocket money when he left?
Shush. And then Marcus Stewart was another of my absolute favourites. And the goals is what you go for as a fan, isn't it? And yeah, I absolutely love it. So, Rich, you've got the inside track on this gentleman. So introduce him and let's get it on.
He's played for a lot of clubs. Bristol Rovers is where he started. Then obviously Huddersfield, Town, Sunderland, Bristol City. He went to Preston on loan, Yeovil, Exeter City, over 250 career goals. PFA Team of the Year, 95, 96, and in 99, 2000 when we got promoted. He was Bristol Rovers Player of the Year, 95, 96, Town Player of the Year. Obviously for that season in the Premier League when he got 19 goals. He's coached at Exeter, assistant manager, Bristol Rovers and Walsall, ITFC, royalty. Welcome to the show, the legend that is Marcus Stewart.
And a fantastic glove model, Marcus Stewart. Welcome. How you doing? Love the shirt.
Sorry?
Love the shirt. Love the shirt, Marcus.
Thanks. Appreciate it. It's clean.
Off. It is, but you've been saying off air about how much of a lucky charm it's been. Just tell us again.
Well, it has been because I've worn it through the group stages and through the knockout stages, of course. And I haven't washed it yet, so. But it's still clean, so it's not in a bad way. It's not got beer on it. It's not got any.
You claim.
No, I swear it is. It is clean. It is. I'm not going to take it off.
Are you a big superstitious person?
Sorry?
Are you a big superstitious person?
Oh, God. No, I'm not. And I don't know why I've done this. So I was never one to put my left boot on first and my left sock. I wasn't that kind of person. But for some reason, for this Euros, I'd just do it. So I've done it and I've stuck with it. I've got a spare one just in case it does get a bit gross.
Absolutely love it.
Maybe next game or the final, but it doesn't matter the final.
So there was no Kieran Trippier sort of thing for you with a hop, skip, and a run on them.
No, there wasn't. I had none of that. No,
I didn't know he did that.
When does it stop?
He always does that. They've all got their little superstitions now, and I think these players when they come on, you see Rashford points to the sky. What did you think of the game anyway, Marcus? It was pretty comfortable in England, which is unbelievable, really.
I just thought we controlled every aspect of the game, from with the ball, without the ball, we controlled the tempo. I mean, the early goal helps, of course, whether it's whoever it's for, but I'm glad it's for Harry, of course, being a striker himself, and I know what it's like when you kind of people having doubts about you. In your own mind, you're not, but people around you are having doubts. So it's nice for him to get 2 goals, could have had a hat-trick. Almost. What a great strike that was. Brilliant strike.
Great save by the keeper as well, wasn't it? Yeah. It was a fantastic save.
Yeah, it was a great save, yeah. So anyway, I just thought it was a controlled performance, and I think as the game went on, obviously a lot more space is going to open up, and we looked like scoring more. And it could have been 5, like you said, if it wasn't for that good save.
What about that guy who played at left-back anyway, Shawberto Carlos?
I love him. I'm a United fan anyway, as you know, but it just takes. He obviously needs an arm around him in love, and he doesn't need people or managers that kind of
still digging him out.
Dictatorship. Obviously, didn't work with Jose under him. Jose came out and said a lot of negative things about him in the press. So I think Ollie's seems like he's got a very, very similar mentality to Gareth Southgate, really, and gets the best out of that. And I think that sort of way of managing him gets the best out of him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he played okay in the second half. First half, I wasn't overly impressed, but second half, he played really well. I will give him credit there, Crunch. All right, there you go. I've given him his credit. But
my man of the match sure was.
Well, he was many people's man of the match, to be absolutely honest. So can they go all the way, Marcus? I know in our email when I sent you the link, I said, "Oh, by the way, have you heard it's coming home?" That's obviously a throwaway line, but is it coming home, Marcus?
I mean, everyone asks me, before every game, what do you think the score is going to be? I don't know. I mean, because there's so much pressure on the guys. We're expected to beat Ukraine 3-4-0 anyway. So, but it's not that easy. I mean, Denmark, our record against them is very tight. So that's got to be another tough game. It's just how they turn up on the night and the luck, the bits of luck that go for you against you, yellow cards or a red card for whatever reason. You just can't. I can't. Obviously, I want England to win, but it's just so hard to call. It really is. of course I'm going to say we're going to get to the final and win it, but I think it's easier said than done. Thinking about it and trying to break it down, it's got to be, the thing is with 60,000 fans at Wembley on Wednesday, of course it'd be an added bonus for us, and it'd be a big help with our home fans there in our home stadium, but it brings added pressure to the lads. So I'm hoping that they manage that over the next coming days. And they it's so hard to deal with emotional pressure. It does literally take out your legs when it comes to a match day. So I think if they manage that side of it, and I'm sure they've got all the psychologists around, tell them not to go on social media, whatever they do, the psychologists, if they manage that side of it between now and the game on Wednesday, I think we've got a really good chance, because I think the ability and the tactics and the coaching and everything just looks after itself. It's that side of it that worries me.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And obviously, you were around a friend's last night. You were telling us off air, having a few beers. We're partnered up with Away Day Beers, which do fantastic ale. Are you an ale drinker? Are you a lager drinker?
In the summer, it's normally a pint of cider or a glass of wine. Winter, it's ale and red wine.
Perfect. So we get a crate of Away Day Beers sent to you.
Sample. None of them got my name on, so tell him thanks.
He's a great guy.
We want a Marcus.
I follow him on LinkedIn, so I do see it.
Absolutely. John Stewart walking in his... Go on.
Sorry, yes. Marcus, we all said what our best memory of you was, particularly in your Ipswich era. What's your best memory then?
I think it's the Bolton game. I know because we were 2-0 down. It's that game. Obviously, we go on to draw 2 each, and then obviously the home game against Bolton as well, where Jim Young gets his hat-trick. But I think the Bolton game was kind of a bit of a change in mentality, because the previous 2 seasons, they've not even got to the final. And I think off the back of going 2-0 down and then back to 2 each away from home, I think that kind of set the tone for the rest of the other 2 playoff games, if I'm honest with you. And like I said to the other night, I said this to the other night, Kate, to Rich, we were down in every game. The Bolton game away and the Bolton game at home, and then the game in the final. So I think though that kind of experience at the start kind of helped us with the next 2 games. But in terms of memory, that was just spine-tingling, the Bolton game, that's for sure. That's what sticks out for me.
So I went to that game.
Oh, okay. Sorry. No, okay. I just mentioned the Liverpool 1-0 win, Marcus, and you scoring at the Kop. Was it quite surreal for you? Did it sort of sink in
straight away?
You'd done?
Straight away, yeah. Being a United fan as well, and getting the winner in the Kop end, and just playing against Liverpool, just to originally just get on the pitch to play at Anfield, but then to get the winning goal as a United fan in the Kop end was just brilliant, and it meant, I remember at the time, it meant so much to Jim Magilton as well, because he got released by Liverpool when he was a younger lad. I don't know if you've ever seen the photograph. It was a photograph of him holding my head like that. He's just, I don't know what he's saying to me, but it was something about, so like whatever, but you could just see his emotion in the photograph, which is amazing. So it was just a nice feeling for everyone, because we go to Liverpool, you don't expect us to get any much out of it, are you? And we end up winning 1-0. It's great. Yeah, it was a good day. There's so many days, Kate, that are good. I mean, if you remind me of them, I think about, you can get the European days scoring in Moscow. I just look back now at 48. I think, God Almighty, that's just such a good thing to do. And at the time, you don't reflect on it. You're just in the bubble. And then I think it's only with age you kind of reflect a bit more, and you realise what actually you've done in your career, but at certain football clubs. And there's so many things at Ipswich that I've done that I'm quite proud of, really, looking back on it.
A rich tapestry, one might say.
How do you keep your emotions in check? Because obviously, I went to Bolton away, and obviously we were at the home game, and the atmosphere in them playoff games, Marcus, was so intense. When you're on that pitch, how do you shut out all the noise around you? Because obviously in that second leg, we kept our discipline, and obviously Bolton's discipline went straight out the window. They tried obviously to kick us off the pitch that night, didn't they? I think that was their game plan. When they came down there, they played us obviously the season before. We'd lost the season before against Charlton, I remember, at home, and they really sort of done a number on us. And I thought that was sort of Sam Allardyce's game plan that night. He thought, we're going to kick them. And it did not work, did it, at all?
No, it didn't. I mean, and I think, I used to say this when I was a coach at Walsall and Bristol Rovers. The top teams have everything. They're tough, they're quick, they're resilient mentally. They've got everything in their locker. Lower level you go, you might have one or two things in your locker, but you need everything to be good at. And that team of Ipswich had everything. We had the ability, we had the tactics, we had the team spirit, which I went on loads about the other night. But we also had the ability to deal with bullying tactics as well, because we just got on with it. We give as good as we got, but in a fair manner, because obviously Bolton didn't, and they ended up having the man sent off. It was just that was their tactics, and we were ready for everything, if I'm honest with you. I think it showed that in that particular game.
It was a great game, wasn't it, really? I mean, so many things come out of that.
You watch the highlights in that game, and you see the 3 penalties that were given, and their fans even now, they will do. But you look at the last penalty, Marcus, when David Johnson, he literally, it's a wrestling move. He just throws him away, and you think, how can you expect to do that on the football pitch and get away with it? It was just unbelievable.
Well, I've looked back at the games a couple of times, not loads, but yeah, it was just there are obvious penalties. The one on me, the one on Jono, they're obvious penalties. That's for sure. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, is that because they knew they couldn't deal with you in footballing ability? So the only way they felt they could possibly beat you was to intimidate you or rough you. Why did you go up for it like that?
Martin, 100%. That was their tactics. When it came to the football at Portman Road, crowd behind us, lovely, best pitch in the country. That's how we like to play. Evening game when it's nice and slick. The conditions are lovely. I used to love playing evening games because, I don't know if you have ask any other players about this, but evening games, you felt so much fresher and lively. I don't know why, but you did. So evening games were loved, especially when there was a bit of dew on the ground. So it suited us down to the ground because we like to play football. And Bolton knew they can match us like for like when it comes to that sort of game. So let's try something different. And we matched them even better at their game than they did at ours.
They thought they'd try a wrestling afternoon instead of a football afternoon.
That's football for you. You got to try and deal with whatever's thrown at you. Like come to Wednesday night, who knows what's going to be thrown at England from Denmark's point of view. So you got to try and figure. Sometimes you can do all the coaching you want, but once you're on the pitch, I think as a group of players or as an individual, you have to work it out yourself on the pitch. And I think that's what we had. We had a group that could do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny Duncan, good afternoon all. Just sneaked in from a family barbecue. Marcus, you are a legend, and I love you for giving me my best Ipswich experiences. Thank you. Mike Brown, great question. We'll go with that. What made Matt Holland such a good captain other than what we see as fans?
Listen, Matt was just a good guy.
Hero.
He was, and he was a great player. He backed it up. He lived the right life. He trained brilliantly. He was made to be captain. It's simple as that. The lads all liked him. We got on well. He wasn't a dictatorship captain. He was an understanding captain. That's how I saw him. And he would generally lead by the way he played, Matty, not more or less what he said. Jim was the one that used to talk all the time and used to try and shut him up all the time. But whereas Jim was, in centre midfield with Matty, so they really complemented each other really well in that centre midfield. Matty had all the energy, worked off the ball. Fans loved him for that, his work rate and how he went about his game. And Jim was the one that was the more of a talker and kind of sitting off and the one spreading the passes. So that's what them two brought as a partnership. But Matty, what you see with Matty is what you get. There's nothing different about him. I don't know if you guys have ever met him, but if you have, that's how he is all the time.
Sadly not. I wish to one day. Colin Plum says he saw Crawford, Mariner, Weimar, Brazil, the old David Johnson, but Marcus Stewart, you are up there with all of them, which is obviously a fantastic company to be in. You mentioned we were behind in all of the games in that playoffs.
Yeah.
What made the team have that much resolve that it did? Because we've seen over the last couple of years, sadly, town teams that just sort of capitulate at the first sign of a bit of trouble. You guys kept coming back.
It's a good question, and it's an easy one to answer, if I'm honest. And sorry to go on about the other night with Rich when he came.
That's fine.
But I mentioned it the other night, and our team spirit was just fantastic. The lads really, really got on well together on and off the pitch, knew each other's jobs. And team spirit goes a long way. I mean, if you look at the England side at the moment, and I'd say the Italian team, they look like there's a lot of togetherness in those two teams. And there's no surprise that those two teams are the ones that are probably favourites to get to the final. But because I see that extra bit of togetherness in them, I don't think it's manufactured. I think it's true, honest feelings. And we had that. We had that, which gets you that extra 10%.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. Sorry, go on.
When Mike Brown asked that question about Matt Holland, but I think I've said this on here before, Mark. This is what we lacked last year. If you look at that team from the playoff final, Marcus, it wasn't just Matt Holland who was a leader.
No,
they were all leaders on the pitch. You got Tony Mowbray, Vino, John McGreal, everyone.
There was no shy personalities in that team. You know, like you say, the ones you just mentioned for sure, and they were all down the spine of the team. You know, down the middle of the park. No, there was no, you know, it was always about problem solving. I'd say at halftime and before the game, or on the pitch, whether it's a quick conversation with someone, it was all about problem solving. There wasn't a blame culture. I'm sure there was now and again. Don't get me wrong, but in general, I think it was all about problem solving on the pitch, halftime, instead of what's the point of arguing when you're actually not going to come up with any sort of solution. So there was loads of conversations going on between the lads in terms of how can we fix a certain situation that's going on the pitch. And that happened all the time. Like I say, that doesn't come just from one person. That comes from 3 or 4. You know, it might be a conversation I used to have with Jamie Clapham now and again. I just say to him, and I think you've seen this in the Wembley final, I say to him, Jamie, when you get in the final third, if you get half a yard, if you just put it in the box for me, because then that gives me an extra seconds head start on a defender, because I knew that ball was going to come in as soon as he got half a yard. And I know that wasn't the case half a yard in the Wembley final, but I did know he was going to put it in the box probably 2 or 3 seconds before he did, which gave me 2 or 3 seconds head start on defender. So it does help having those sort of conversations. That doesn't happen all the time, and it doesn't come off like that. There's times when it just goes completely wrong. The cross might have gone over the other side of the pitch and gone out for a throw in on another day. But as it happens, I attack the perfect cross from the perfect time at the perfect moment, and we get a goal. So that conversation about what I've had with Jamie might have just came out in that one moment. So it's worth it. You've got to find a solution.
Marcus, that goal is by far the best goal I've ever seen. I'm sat right looking at it, and your movement, you check, you go, and then you move again. The defender doesn't know where the hell you've gone. It's an amazing goal.
No, I know, and it looks good on the day. I get that. And you got to teach. You know, I used to say to strikers when I was coaching them, it's all about one for you, which means one movement for you to move the defender away, and one for him to get him. That's what I used to say. One for you to suck him away, and one for him just to get in front of him. That was how it was. It's that simple. I always played by that. I learned that off a coach called John Ward. I don't know if you ever know John Ward, but I learned that off him when I was about 19 years old. I remember him telling me that, and I understood what he meant by it. And I kind of kept that in my locker all throughout my career. And I think I used that type of movement because I wasn't lightning quick. I had to be a bit more clever than other people. I kept it in my locker all my career.
That overall goal, though, Rich, to think about it, is just amazing because you've got Naylor's.
What a touchdown was by Bam Bam. What a touchdown. Yeah. What a game he had. What a game he had that day. He was like a man.
We had a really good relationship in terms of on the pitch. We're just in sync on the pitch. It's just the way it is with some players.
Because you said the other night, didn't you, that Jono, you and him didn't really gel as a partnership, did you?
No, we didn't. No, like I said, we're really good mates. So, yeah, we didn't. No. And it's sad because I'd love to have a great partnership on the pitch as much as I do off the pitch. So, but never mind. It's the way it is. That's
with Jono, wasn't it? Because he had such a great career at Town. And then sort of when we got in the Premier League, he started off the season. I was looking down here, Marcus. Your first goal you scored against Villa, you were out of the team then because you didn't score in the first, I think it was 3 or 4 games, wasn't it? And then you were on the bench and then you came on. I think you scored, it was right at the end of that game, wasn't it? We lost 2-1. That's the game. Yeah. Is that the game where Luke Nillis broke his leg?
Oh, I don't remember that game. I do remember. I don't remember it. I remember at the start of the season when George pulled me in, he said, listen, I'm not going to play with us. I said, my words to George were, I said, okay, but if it doesn't go right, all I want is a chance. And he said, yeah, Marcus, you'll get your chance. And that was the conversation. That was the end of it. And I did get my chance, fortunately enough. Yeah. And it just goes from there. You just got to take your chance. You might have one game to prove what you can do at that level, and it might not work out for you. But I think that one game it did. Did you say it was Villa, Rich?
Yeah, it's Villa, and then you scored the goal against Arsenal, didn't you? It was off your shoulder, wasn't it? That one against Arsenal.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Count.
It was a rubbish header. It was rubbish.
I love it.
I still don't know how we didn't beat them that day. He missed 2 sitters that day, Bam Bam, against Arsenal. I remember North.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that. I only remember snippets of the game. It's a bit like, when you've been on a night out and had too many drinks, you remember little bits. But it's the same when you go play a game of football. You remember certain moments. You can't remember the whole game.
That Arsenal goal, though, if it's the home game we were talking about, it sends Seaman flapping. I've never seen Seaman like that. He's beating all ends up.
Oh, see, I love David as well. God, he's the England hero of mine.
Yeah,
it is what it is. Thanks, David. I was wondering who he was waving to in the crowd at the time. He must have known someone. It was a deflection, though. That's what I would say. It wasn't a clean header, and that might have thrown him off a little bit.
What I said this morning was you could score any sort of goal, scruffy, quality, world class, any type of goal. You just knew where the box and where the goal was, and you can't.
I know. I mean, I don't practice that sort of thing. I didn't. It just came naturally. I think it was when I used to play street football when I was a kid and used to do stuff like that. And you weren't coached as a kid playing street football. You were just on the pitch playing against older guys than you, and some your age, some a bit older. And it just comes from that. I just think it's a natural instinct. I don't think you can coach people with that instinct. I don't know how I got it. I don't remember. It's just
God given.
Well, I don't know.
Well, yeah.
I can't say anymore. I can't fluff it up for you. That's how it is.
Let's go forwards. Obviously, you signed for Ipswich. I remember it as a kid that you signed for Town and Steve Bruce resigned off the back of it. Am I remembering that correctly?
I don't think he left straight away. I think they were still in the playoffs, weren't they?
Yeah.
They were flying, weren't they? You were flying at Huddersfield.
Yeah, I think it was very close. Like we were third. I mean, Huddersfield and Ipswich was fourth at the time. So it was very close. 1 or 2 spaces between us. And obviously, then I went to Ipswich. And I remember that year, Huddersfield then didn't even get in the playoffs. And he might have left at the end of that season. He might have done. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But me and Steve used to have some stand-up arguments in the dressing room, at half-time. I used to feel like he picked on me quite a lot. And I'm quite a laid-back guy, but when it's you all the time, eventually you're going to stand up to yourself when you get back in the corner. And I used to at half-time, if I'm honest with you, because I just felt it was always me. I used to say to him, it's always me, it was always him, and it's never anyone else. I used to say that to him at half-time because I'm never one to answer the manager back, but when you start thinking it's getting a bit unfair, then you've got to say what you've got to say. But saying that, when it comes to Monday morning, Steve would just let it go and we'd be back to normal again. And Steve was brilliant like that. You could have an argument with him, but he would just be back to normal again. He wouldn't hold it against you and then drop you for the next 2 or 3 games. He would be back to normal. I quite liked him as a person, is the honest truth. I did like him.
And now you've seen obviously been the flip side as a coach. Do you look back and think, what, he really wanted me to get better, and that's why? Because sometimes they say when a coach or a manager stops talking to you, that's when you've got to worry.
Well, I think those days are kind of gone now. I think it's you've got to be an understanding, personal, tactical manager these days. I don't think you can. And listen, Jose Mourinho is one of the best managers in the world, but I'm starting to question whether it's the way he deals with players in the media is how things are changing at the moment. And I think you've got to get the best out of your players, and I don't think that kind of way is the way anymore.
I don't know, with the focus on mental health being in the forefront and of people's minds and sort of in the conversation these days, I'm not sure sort of picking on players is the way forward anymore. I mean, it's a different generation, Marcus.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you, Kate. It's not that generation anymore. You've got to understand their feelings. You don't know what's going on off the pitch with them. You have to create a relationship with them somehow and find out what's going on, because someone might come in moody on a Monday and you don't know what's happened on the Sunday within his family kind of bubble. You just don't know. So you have to create relationships with them. If you're going to close yourself off to things like that, then you're not going to get a lot out of them. I mean, how did you find dealing with, the managers, the media? Has that changed over the years? Would you say, Kate, dealing with them?
Yeah. Do you know So it's a lot more sanitized these days, and I feel that managers are more sensitive to being interviewed by women. Right. So I feel like about 10 years ago, sort of anything could be said. Like really inappropriate things could be said, and now perhaps interviews are slightly more sterile because some individuals are worried about what they might say in cancel culture. And I guess 20 years ago, and this is what I want to really ask you, Marcus. 20 years ago, you didn't have social media. You didn't have perhaps the attention on you that some of these youngsters have on them today. How has the role of sort of a Premier League footballer and someone like you who scored obviously a lot in the Premier League, how has that changed to those youngsters scoring in the Premier League these days?
Like I say, I think the biggest thing has changed. There was no Facebook when I was around. There was nothing. Mobile phones were there, but they were about that big. There was no, the house line still. You had to go down to the phone box to make a phone call. That's what's changed for me. Social media, Twitter. I'm not on any Twitter. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on any of that. The only thing I'm on is LinkedIn. So I think it would have been a lot more difficult for me. I mean, because I don't know what you think. I'm not sure if they get a lot of education on how to use social media, the players. It's kind of worked out for themselves. They download, say, Instagram, and they got to work out themselves. I mean, if that happened to me back in the day, I'm not sure I could have used it. I really don't. I just don't think it was around to do it. But I'm glad it wasn't around back then because, we got to a lot of antics, and I think it's easier to be in the press then, and I think maybe it's calmed the football generation down a bit by knowing that they can't do things that maybe they want to, or we might have got away with back in the day, if that makes sense. They're almost a bit more controlled. They can't go down the pub and close the curtains anymore. They can't be wherever they go. There's a picture of them. There's a video of them. There's someone watching them. It's like Big Brother, and that's what they are. Unless they're in their own house, they are in the world being seen by everyone. And whereas back in our day, that wasn't the case. So
now I want to know about the antics, Marcus.
Oh, just the normal antics, so if now you go to the pub or a restaurant or something, if someone knew you, it's because they were there in the same place with you. That's the difference. Whereas now, someone knows you, someone in Australia knows you there within 5 minutes. That's the difference because it's online. And whereas back in the day, that wasn't the case. So when I say antics, I mean the antics. God, of course, after games, you're always going to go out and celebrate. That's what you do as a teammate. That's what you do as a team. That's the best teams. It's when you do it too much. That's when you've got a problem. But I think everyone's entitled to go out on a Saturday night after a game. I think whoever you are, whatever industry you work in, you're all entitled to do that. But you can't do it and get away with it if you're going to act in not an appropriate way these days. You can't get away with it.
So back then, sorry, Puncher.
Just on that, Kate, the tweets and that's a really interesting point because I'm a massive cricket fan, Marcus. I don't know if you see Ollie Robinson, the cricketer.
No.
He had historic tweets come out when he was 18.
Oh, I did, yes.
Yeah, and 10 years. This is what I'm saying about social media. When he was a young lad, obviously he was a bit off the rails, and some of the stuff that he's tweeted then, look, it was massively inappropriate what he's done. But when you think he was 18 then, he's 28 now. Look, 10 years ago, it's a massive. The world changes so quickly, like every year, doesn't it? And you think, like you say, that's the best thing to stay off social media as a footballer. And these young lads now, they've got so many pressures, and look, he obviously put tweets out back then, but is he the same person that he is 10 years?
He's not.
No, he's not.
I think he within 10 years, you kind of change anyway. In 10 years' time, when I'm 58, I'll be a different person again. That's how it is.
You'll still be looking young. You're still looking young like you are now.
I don't feel it at the moment. I feel a little bit.
Oh, crunchy, you smoothie.
I feel a bit.
You had a crush, not just you.
Yeah, I'm not the only one with a crush tonight, Marcus.
He did as well. Oh,
we're all fangirl, Marcus.
So yeah, I mean, do I have an opinion on that? No, he shouldn't have written what he did. No, I thought he was younger than 18. I thought he was 13 or something. Is that correct?
No, there was another one. There was another one they said was 15, but they didn't reveal who that was.
Come on, he's still a teenager, guys. You can't ban him from cricket. Is that what they've done? He suspended him or something.
Yeah, he's got an 8-game ban, but he's served it already, and he's got a few games suspended.
He's 28 now, and if he keeps doing it, he's done it like 2 months ago. Then okay, I'll get it. But
exactly.
Give him a chance. It's 10 years ago.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, okay. Let's sort of segue from from social media. This is the question I was going to ask. Back in the day, Marcus, where did you all go to let your hair down in Ipswich? Was it Hollywood back then?
I couldn't tell you the places what they were called. I really couldn't.
It was that good.
Just in town, around the corner somewhere. That's it.
Classic.
I couldn't tell you where. No, I couldn't tell you the names of the places. No, sorry, I couldn't.
Which place had the best nightlife? Bristol, Ipswich?
I think you'd have to say up in the northeast.
They know the party. Yeah. They know the party up there.
Yeah, it's good. It's good up there. It's cold, but it's a great place. Yeah.
Beer warmth.
And it wasn't about that. Like I say, we were young lads. It's 28. So
play hard, work hard.
You worked hard, and you deserved it.
One or two times we might have crossed the line a bit too much, but I think you only realise that when you get older.
Absolutely.
I remember you sitting on that balcony.
Sorry, if I can just finish this bit. I think when I got to about between 28 and 32, I think the culture was starting to change a bit. You know, from the days you hear Tony Adams and Paul Merson talk about when they used to go out drinking in Gascoigne. And that was that's what I was brought up with. So I thought that was how it worked. You know, I did. I think that every footballer did that. So, and I think as I got to about 32, my mentality on that started to change a bit. And the reason why it did was because it wasn't happening so much. So I kind of explain it like this. Back in the day when you're all doing it, you go on a pitch on the Saturday, you generally know the other team has been doing the same thing as you throughout the week. Maybe go out on a Tuesday, maybe go out on a Sunday. So you're all on a level playing field. But I think as it changed at 30-32, you were doing that. Then other teams stopped doing that. So then they actually had an advantage on you straight away. And I think now that kind of culture's gone a bit. And maybe, Kate, it's because of a bit of social media as well, so because they can't get away with it anyway. But so I think in that sense, it's quite a good thing in terms of your preparation, your performance coming up the weekend. So I think it's changed massively since I was 32. And I had to change my ways at 32 because I'm thinking, you can't keep doing this, so you ain't going to play on. You ain't going to be playing very much longer. And I think the players now understand, they love a night out, don't get me wrong, but I think they understand that they have to take it a bit more steady than they normally would and be careful what's around them.
Absolutely. You mentioned Steve, under Steve Bruce. Let's obviously talk about a legend in ITFC history, George Burley. What was it like as a player under George? What was his strengths? What was he perhaps?
George was probably way ahead of himself because we were a footballing team. You know, we played free at the back quite a lot, not all the time, but he'd throw it in now and again. But it wasn't a free at the back to defend. You know, it was a free at the back with wing backs that wanted to get forward. Not too different how England play it now, really. But we were a ball playing back five, if you want to see it like that. So that George was a football man and he wanted to play football. You know, that was what he used to teach us all the time, play football. As a manager, when I first realised that Ipswich were interested in me, I was a bit scared about meeting George because I remember seeing him on the sidelines a few times when I was playing for other teams, and he just looked like a serious man. But when I met him, I liked him, and he was serious. Don't get me wrong; he wanted to do well, but I liked. It's not very many managers that disliked his people. I think that's quite important as well. And he was a good manager as well. You know, he'd tell you straight, but he'd be honest with you. And Mick McCarthy was like that. He was probably the best at that. Mick McCarthy was the best.
Being so close in the league table as they were at the time, Huddersfield and Ipswich, right? Did George sell you the vision? Did him and David meet with you?
No,
how did they
didn't have to sell me it. Didn't have to.
Love it. I mean, that's a great answer to every single Town fan is.
I wanted to go.
Beautiful.
And the reason why I wanted to go, the history of the club, back in the 70s. and the history of the 2 previous seasons when I didn't get in the playoffs. And I thought I could be the difference, and I'd be around a team that might get promoted that season, because I think it was January, wasn't it, when I joined?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I might get promoted that season either automatically or playoffs. That's what I genuinely thought. And if we didn't do it that season, we'd do it the season after, because they were pushing up there for 2 or 3 seasons before, and I wanted to be involved in that environment. And that's it. Didn't have to sell it to me.
Did the location have any sort of bearing? Because I remember when Roy Keane came, he said Ipswich, we always struggle to attract players. Did you have to look on the map? Where was Ipswich? Because this.
Listen, I love travelling. I love driving. It don't bother me. So I moved from Bristol to Huddersfield. Obviously Yorkshire, that's 300 miles, 200 miles away. Then down to Ipswich, which is another 200-300 miles away. Then up to Sunderland. So travelling doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me where I go. I was actually glad to. I love Bristol, don't get me wrong, but I needed to get out of Bristol to see it. I want to see other places. So, no, in terms of where I was going to live in the country, never ever entered my mind because it's too far away.
Mike Brown, what do you feel the reason was for such a poor second season in the Premier League? Obviously, the first year was phenomenal, unprecedented, but the second season, obviously, what happened. What do you feel?
What do I think? 1 or 2 players that were brought in didn't really fit to the team ethos, the team spirit. 1 or 2 unlikable guys from my point of view. So yeah, that was one of the reasons. Also, the second season syndrome, where I think teams suss you out, and you're not such a surprise anymore. That always happens. As after Sheffield United.
Happened again, yeah.
So that as well. And you could say the distraction of the Europa League as well, but that wasn't a distraction. No way. That was just another epic moment in my career. So I never see that as a distraction. You might do it if you're Man United or something like that if you're going for the Premier League title. But when you're Ipswich and you come 5th the season before, you haven't been in the Premier League since back in 1992, was it 92 or 93? Then that's not a distraction in Europa Cup. That's just
a reward.
A reward for everyone. Like we said the other day, a reward for the fans for what we've done the year before.
Yeah.
So he said about the signings. I know you're not going to name them, but I think, look, we all know Richard Wright left, Scully left. 2 massive parts of that team knew what it meant to play for the club, knew what it meant to the town, and then you've got other players coming in. We all know who they are. We're not going to name them. And they're not really buying into what them 2 gave to the team.
Yes, there wasn't. I'm not saying it's all of them. There was one in particular I didn't particularly like, but it was just a different feel about the place, you know. And that's what can happen with the change of 2 or 3 players. It can happen. So yeah, I'm not going to say any more than that. Really.
Did it surprise you about Whiteley that he didn't go on and have such a look? He should have played. He played 1 game for England, Marcus, and you obviously played with him. He was a top keeper. Why didn't he have the career? That he should have done. After he left.
No, but Righty, love Righty again. I ain't got nothing bad to say about Righty. Brilliant goalie, brilliant lad. But you have to ask him that question because he had all the ability to do that. So that's a question you have to ask him. But in terms from my point of view, one of the best top 2 goalies I've played with in my career, along with Thomas Meyer at Sunderland.
Scratch your left ear if one of the new signings was really 60.
Huh? No, Finidi was the good guy. I like Finidi as a person. You might not have believed his age, but I didn't look at it like that. I looked Finidi was Finidi, and he wasn't a bad guy. He kept himself to himself, but trained okay. Was a nice guy, quite softly spoken. In terms of the performance, you can all go on about, you know, he didn't perform like he should have done, but in terms of character-wise, I liked him. Yeah, don't go through them all, okay?
No, we won't. But he could just turn it on.
He's very mature. Yeah, God. Yeah, very mature.
Colin Plum, who was your closest friends at Portman Road?
Sorry?
Who was your closest friend at Portman Road? So who was your best?
Oh, God.
What was your group?
We all were. There was no real cliques. I can honestly say that.
I like that.
you know, I can honestly say that. I go from Gary Croft to Jono to Jim Gillen to Mark Venus. Tony Mowbray is more of a, you know, senior player that kind of kept an arse a bit, like a father figure in a way. He was just about to become a coach, part of the coaching staff. I can name loads. You know, there wasn't any clicks. You know, if we say, and I used to hate this when I was a coach. So if we say now, back then, okay, we ain't got a game this Tuesday, guys. After this game Saturday, we're going to go out with a couple of beers. Who's coming out? And generally, you get a good 10 of you. It wasn't 1 or 2 or 3. It would be a good 10 of you. So, that very rarely was it just 1 or 2 of you. I mean, 1 or 2, you might just go out and say, fancy a couple of pints, or just fancy going for something to eat tonight somewhere, just me and you. That happens. But when we had arranged a night out after a certain game, generally everyone turned up. Most turned up.
Was that the same the second season when we weren't doing so well?
We didn't go out. No. I don't remember.
Great answer.
Plead the fifth. I like it. You mentioned Europe, and I know Rich's got some great memories of Europe, particular. But before that, okay, you got a question, have you?
Yeah, who did you room with on the road?
Oh, it changed. But I remember rooming with Scully quite a few times. And I found out some really interesting kind of routines he did as well. I'm sure he won't mind me telling them on the TV. I remember one night in particular, we were, and I think looking back now, I think this could be something for a lot of people do. So you close the curtains, put the lights out, ready to go to bed, clean your teeth, go to sleep. Your roommate wakes up, so I can't sleep, it's too light in here. I mean, what's he on about? You know the red TV light that stays on, the standby light in the corner? He used to have to get up and put like a book in front of it so he couldn't see it at night, and then he'd go to sleep.
He's like me.
That was Scully's little thing.
He's my husband.
Is that your husband does the same thing?
No blue lights, no red lights, no green lights. Turn that baby monitor off. Awesome.
So I get it. So at the time I thought it was a bit weird, but I think as I got older, I realised a lot of people do that. And the other one was he used to come down in the morning and he'd have his Weetabix or his cornflakes, but he'd have no milk on them. Just eat them. He'd put them in a bowl. I'd be thinking, right, he's got his spoon ready now.
Try Weetabix.
Where's the milk? Scully? No, I just like it like this, nice and plain. I was like that. So that's the 2 things that Scully used to do. But even I remember for those stories. That's where otherwise I wouldn't remember.
Cool. That's not great. That's really not great. No, not for me. Not for me. So Europe, great memories. Rich, I know you've got a couple you definitely want to share.
I can eat cornflakes. Getting back on that, I can eat cornflakes with no milk, but Weetabix with no milk.
Oh, it is. It might have been cornflakes. It might not be. I'm just fluffing it up for story-wise. It might have been.
Other brands are available.
I knew it was cereal of some sort that he had no milk on.
That's not good. Go on, Rich.
Yeah, when that draw was made for the UEFA Cup, Marcus, you know, the first round.
Yeah.
We went to Moscow, didn't we? What were you hoping? Was there a team you were looking for in the draw?
No, there wasn't. It was just, I mean, it would have been great these days when there's actual league, so you guaranteed 3 games, aren't you? You know, whereas back then it was knockout stages, home and away, and that was it. And so you got in the next round. But there was no one in particular. No, I was just happy to be in the Europa League. Is the honest truth. It was just a fantastic experience. I can't explain it. So the first one was Torpedo Moscow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was Helsingborgs.
Talk us through them 2 goals away at Helsingborgs, because obviously we drew the home game. I think did you miss a penalty in that game?
I don't know. Did I?
I think it was that game, because you scored a penalty, didn't you, away to Moscow?
Yeah, that's right.
And then obviously away, we were losing 1-0 at half time. Matteo Sereni made an error, and then second half we come back and you got 2 absolutely fantastic goals.
One was a header, wasn't it, from Vino?
Yeah.
And there's a through ball from someone. And like I said before, I don't plan to chip the keeper. It was just there, and I just seen the space was behind him more so than the side and the right of him, the left and right of him, or under his body. So it was an instinctive thing, you know. I think if that doesn't go in, those sort of finishes don't go into the back of the net, I think you look silly, really, a bit silly. But that's how I did it. It wasn't. That was it. That was it. I can't explain it. It's just one of those nights, and the European nights were fantastic atmosphere. I don't know if you guys ever went to any of them. Did you?
Yeah, I was at them all. Apart from Moscow away, I didn't go to. Which, looking back now, I wish I'd gone. I don't know why I went, why I didn't go. But then, obviously, we beat Helsingborgs. Then I think you were injured in training.
Yeah.
Broke your jaw, and then we draw into Milan. How gutted were you?
I was gutted. Yeah, I was.
That you did not play in either of them games because
I was gutted. Yeah, at the time. I mean, because I knew, Inter Milan at home and away. But on the flip side, I was so pleased for Alan Armstrong because, again, I got on really well with him, loved him to death, great guy. I was so pleased for him that he scored in both legs as well, from the striker's point of view. I know the second leg was, a bit of a walkover from their point of view as the game went on. But no, it was gutted, yeah. It was like you say, the big team, you get through a couple of games and then you get the big teams later on in the competition. Milan would have been one of those. But I was pleased for the lads that played, especially the home performance as well.
I think he was ill, wasn't he, leading up to that first leg?
Who?
Alan Armstrong. So I think he was on the bench, wasn't he? I think he'd been ill in the lead up to that and he came on.
I don't even remember.
I was going to remember little things like this.
Rich is amazing at that. Marcus, Tom James asks, if you had to put a Town five-a-side team together from your time at the club, what would it be?
Five-a-side team?
Yeah. So you got Righty in goal. You've already said how much you admire Richard. So I'd imagine Righty would be a goalkeeper, right?
Yeah. Well, what formation would you play?
You're the gaffer. You're the gaffer.
No, I think you should pick formation. I'll pick the players. All
right, Rich, pick a formation for him.
We got one defender, one midfielder, two strikers.
Good luck with that formation.
It's not a Sky Sports analyst show. We're going to take
okay, I'm not allowed to be in this team, no?
No, you can if you want.
You can.
No, I won't put myself in it. At the back, middle. I'd have to go Tony Mowbray. Purely because he hasn't got to move right the pitch too much because it's a small pitch. So, as well, and he'd be commanding, Tony, definitely. Midfield, it's got to be Matty because he's an all-rounder. He can run, tackle,
absolutely, Matty. Of course. Captain as well.
I'll let you have two midfielders. There you go. You can have two midfielders and one striker. There you go. We'll change it.
Oh, for God's sake. You're like a ringer, you are. I'll tell you what, I'll have Matty and Jim.
What a two.
Okay. And the striker would be, oh, God. How many subs do I get?
3.
Oh. I'd have Scully down the middle. And then on the bench, I'd have Vino, because he could go and goal as well and defend if Wright got sent off.
Second Holland.
And then I'd have probably Martin Rooser, because he'd be a really good player. He'd be a really good five-side player because he come on, be a midfield player and he could be an attacker if I needed. And then I'd have one more player. God, he put me in the pressure here.
Yeah. It's Tom. Blame Tom, not us.
That's fine. Anyway, Jamie Clapham.
He was underrated player, wasn't he? He was a great signing on a free from Spurs. I thought he was unlucky not to be picked for England, Marcus. Well, we'll probably get onto yourself in a minute, but Jamie Clapham, fantastic player. Energy.
That was Jamie for you. Just gave his all. When we used to do running sessions on a Monday or a Tuesday, he was. If you were behind him, you were second. Simple as that. He was in the front all the time. It's like a machine. Just can't catch him. I don't mean sprinting. I mean long distance. Stamina was amazing.
As a striker, you obviously mentioned Mogger there. You must have learned so much from Tony as a striker.
No, I just remember playing against him. I was at Huddersfield. I played against Ipswich that time twice. Played at Portman Road, and I think we won and I scored. And we played at Huddersfield. And I think we won when I scored that day as well.
3-1. I was at that game. It was a night game. You scored.
That's right. But whenever I played against that back three, I had a tough day. I knew I wasn't in for an easy day. I'm not just saying that because I played with them for another 2 years after that. I'm saying it because that's exactly how I didn't like playing against them. I just didn't feel I'd get a lot of change out of any of them. You go on one side and kind of stay over there where maybe the weakest player was. I just to move about, just to move on John McGrill, got nothing out of him. Go in the middle, got nothing out of Tony. Go to the left, and Vino was there. I got nothing out of either of them. So we just went in midfield, just kind of way. So it was tough to play against them three. So I wouldn't say I learned loads off him but it was tough playing against them when I played against them.
Yeah, they had it all, didn't they?
Trained how they played. Sorry, Martin?
They had it all as a back three. They could play on the floor, play in the air, be strong, be physical.
Everything.
That's
why they play at the top level. That's what I'm saying. You have to have all those things to be able to play at the top level. And that's why they did.
Marcus, going back to your UEFA Cup, are you aware that I have to say, thank you for your efforts and the team's efforts that season. I just feel that wherever I am in the world, I speak to you today from Singapore. A year ago, it would have been Philadelphia. The year before that, it would have been Atlanta. Whenever you go anywhere and they say, oh, who's your team? And you say Ipswich Town, that UEFA Cup run is always brought up. And more often than not, your name is always mentioned or synonymous with that. Are you aware of the global reach of what was achieved 20 years ago?
Not really, no. No, I'm not. No, I mean, I think what happens is, and this is my mindset, I think when you finish playing football, okay, I think you get forgotten quite easily. You do it. I'm not saying that's a good thing or bad, but I just think you do, and that's just the process of what happens. Some young lad comes up through, it's Sancho now, for instance. In 30 years' time, you won't be forgotten, but you kind of do it. So I think I wasn't as high profile as him and those guys, but I just think you get forgotten, and you think, and sometimes things come up on social media when one of my friends might send me something from Facebook or whatever's been on Instagram. I remember this day, I know someone said Marcus Stewart there, something, what's it called? I ain't got a clue what it is, but it's sending me through every year, and it's every year when it comes through as a Bolton Day. So, but that's it. So I have no. Is that the case? Is it? I don't know. Okay, is it all over?
I feel that I haven't met any other Town fans in Singapore, but whenever I'm in we don't have a car here, so we get around by taxi all the time. And then the taxi drivers either see me in my England shirt or an Ipswich shirt, and you don't see a lot of women wearing soccer jerseys here, and or football shirts here. And then they'll say, oh, who's your team? And I'll say Ipswich. And then that UEFA Cup run will come up. You being the top scorer in the Premier League will come up, So that
will come up with it? That will, what, instigated by you or them?
Well, no, by them.
By them, wow.
Yeah. They'll see Ipswich, and then Ipswich is synonymous with that. And then I have to tell them, oh, we're in League One now.
Oh, God.
Yeah, you say you'll be forgotten, but you're as Colin.
You're not.
But
no,
you'll never be forgotten.
Like that. I think. I mean, it's quite strange because sometimes I'll meet so I'll go on holiday and you'll be on the beach chatting to people like you do, and then you go, oh, where are you from? Or where are you from? And you like you do when you go on holiday. And they say, oh yeah, and then all of a sudden they come round to me, and I hate talking about it. I'm like, just don't ask what I do or anything like that. And I'll say, well, I used to be a professional football back in the day. Oh, right, did you? Yeah. And then I'll go, what's your name? I'll go, Marcus Stewart. They go, oh, I know you. So it's like, they don't know who I am by looking at me. But then once it's mentioned, they kind of, oh, yeah, it's like a flashback. They remember. So I think it's that. If I can walk around the street most places now and no one really recognises me. But then when I start chatting to them and I tell them who I am, I think people will then understand and then kind of remember. So I won't say I've forgotten. I just think I look a bit older these days, and people probably don't recognise me as much like they might have done back in the day. Maybe I should wear cardboard cutout face, like the ones that just put it on here and walk around like that. They might recognise me. And I go, oh, no, I'm 48 now. But it's like, it's just age. It's one of those things with football, isn't it?
I think we've been doing this pod for just over a year, haven't we, Martin?
Yeah.
Just over a year. Look, when we started, I never thought I'd be sitting here on a Sunday afternoon talking to an absolute legend.
Oh, that's quite nice. Thanks, Rich.
Yeah, and I
play
always
I
wanted
don't know what
to
to say,
interview.
mate. I don't know what
Yeah.
to say. Let's have a private one after me and you, or what do you want to do, Rich? Yeah.
I love it.
I want to talk to Marcus. I want to talk to you about when you were at Bristol Rovers and you had Malcolm Allison managing you. Now, for a lot of fans out there, the younger generation wouldn't know who he is, but what was he like as a manager, Marcus, when you were a young lad making your way in the game?
I didn't learn anything off Malcolm, it's the honest truth. But I didn't dislike him either. Let me try to think. I remember Malcolm Allison when he came to train us. I remember us one time. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. Training normally starts at 10:30. And we were training, and he was on the other training pitch playing football with his kids. Well, that was one of my memories of him. And he then got me in one time and just said, Marcus, I need you to see this guy. I know I didn't forget the guy's name, but he said he's watched you play and he feels that you don't run properly, so we're going to retrain you to all your movements with your legs. And I was like 21. I was like, all right, okay. So anyway, this guy comes in and tries to teach me how to walk. So I had to start literally from one, that was it. That's the end. So apparently I can walk better now, but I must have one session with him. So that's my memories of Malcolm Allison. Him training on the other training pitch with his kids while we were training and getting his mates trying to teach me to walk. Brilliant. Thanks, Marcus.
I see a great video, Kate. I'll send it to you. It's on the Bristol Rovers on YouTube. Marcus has got some great hair and a great headband. Do you remember that?
Oh God.
Fashion.
What is it with me? Like these things, a pair of gloves and a headband, and like what? I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Trailblazer.
Do you know what? It was one of those things we spoke about the other night, Rich's game. Whereas when you want to try and do something to make yourself feel good, which then gives you an extra 10% boost when it comes to the game, like I did with the gloves. It's like like some people might do with white boots. I don't know. You might put something really smart on a Saturday night to make yourself better. And that was the same thing for me. I put a headband on thing, even though looking back now, it looks horrendous because it didn't even matter. It was a different colour headband and it was the kit. It wasn't the same colour. So, but I did it to make myself feel good. And that got 10% extra out of me. That's probably why I did it.
Great goals. You got some great goals with Bristol Rovers, Marcus. There was some absolute. I think your debut was against Ipswich in.
Full debut against Ipswich in their orange kit.
You scored. That's the season we won the league under John Lowe, and you played with Devon White. Devon White.
3-0 down at half time, and we drew 3 each. And I scored, and Devon White scored 2 more. Yeah. But that was the year you went up. That's the last year.
Yeah, we won the league.
We went up to the Premier League, yeah. Which was what year was that?
91-92. John Lowe was manager.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it was.
Stephen says the gloves became a fashion icon. Yes, I'm sure the club loved them as well because they certainly cashed in on it. I want to know why we can't buy them now. They were great. I remember them.
Can you not get the gloves anymore? Any sort of Ipswich gloves?
I've not seen any.
Yeah, you can.
Time. But not.
I've got a pair of them,
Stewart
and they've done an orange pair as well, Marcus. Orange and black.
Ooh.
I've got both.
What, back in the day when I was playing? They did that time?
Yeah.
Oh, did they?
I didn't know that. I just did the
blue
and white ones. Wow. Looking at the club now, Marcus.
Yeah.
The outside in, obviously, revolution coming on. A lot of people are asking in the chat about what your thoughts are on the club now.
I said it the other night, and I hope I said the right thing. Is that there's a new hope within the place, and I think what I mean by that is, it's a new ownership, new manager. It's a lot of new players in. I think 26 turnaround, ins and outs and loans going back or whatever. And it's a new season. It's kind of it's been bottled up for about 2 years now, isn't it? A year and a half with the seasons and people not being able to go to the games as well. So I think there's that kind of feeling coming towards the games coming closely. I don't know how many fans are going to be allowed in when it comes to August. I don't know, but I'm sure there'll be a few. So there's a new hope for everything, and I think it's a new start. And I sense when I was doing the radio last year for Radio Suffolk at a couple of the games, I sensed a lot of animosity and a lot of negativity in the phone-ins after the game. I'm hoping that goes away.
Probably me on moaning.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite hard to listen to. You know, it's frustrating from my point of view because I want people to get behind their team, but I also understand that it's fans that are paying money and they want things right behind the scenes, and they want, if that happens generally, then it's going to be right on the pitch. So I'm hoping that this year the phone-ins will be a lot easier, and the results, I think with results they come easy anyway. But it was hard doing it last year. But enjoyable, don't get me wrong, but it's hard to hear the Ipswich fans so negative when I know for a fact they don't want to be like that. So I'm hoping this year that things is going to change for the good, of course. That's what I'm hoping.
Absolutely. Kate? Anything?
Well, I was going to say, fans haven't always been like that, Marcus, when you were at the club, when things are going well, I guess it's not in our nature to sort of be the default negative. I just keep laughing to myself. There are two Marcuses synonymous with Ipswich Town, one a legend, one
a zero.
One we're not going there. But yeah, and also you're right about a new hope, and also just sort of little things like being put on the map by Ed Sheeran. Like, can you believe someone in Singapore this week was talking to me about the Ed Sheeran concert on TikTok? And I was like, how do you know about this? Yeah, that's my club. Yeah, he's sponsoring my club. So it's kind of a bit wild. And going back to your point just about how in your day, about how the dressing room really gelled and it wasn't forced. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm sure other fans are as well with this season. And also, now that we have new management, I feel that fans like ourselves, that we're not going to be treated like idiots. I feel like in the past, sometimes like things have been hidden from us and then stuff's been leaked. And it's just got really messy, and just the fans are smarter than that.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like these new owners treat fans with respect. So.
Right. Good. And I think what I think the fans used to get frustrated with last year, especially, was a lack of communication from the chairman. And towards the end of it, I remember reading when he did communicate, there was almost like a quiet dig within the statement that he's written. I don't remember what he said, but it was a quiet dig. And you can't. I think he can be like that. I think the best way for me, and I know the clubs I've worked at, the chairmans I've worked with have been just come out with a statement and say it honestly. I don't think that was ever the case with Marcus. I think it was more whenever he didn't come out and say a lot anyway, but when he did, there was always an under dig from his point of view within the statement. And I can see why the fans will get frustrated with that, because I think you need to be transparent as a player, as a manager, as a chairman. And fans want to hear you tell the truth. You're not going to tell the whole truth sometimes. You might bend the truth a bit, but they want to hear you, and they want to hear you talking as honestly as you can.
Yeah, sometimes in business interests, you can't tell everyone what's going on at that specific moment. But you can't have sly digs at fans and things like that. And I've said on this pod before, Marcus, and correct me if I'm wrong, I, like the Guv and Cruncher, diehard Ipswich fan, also journalist by profession, so clearly like research is my thing. If Marcus walked down the street, I wouldn't know who he was. And that's someone who knows the club inside out. So I'm just glad that we're away from those days.
Yeah, and like I say, new hope, new start. I think you have to talk about it, because I'm hoping that the new regime, whether it's the manager, the players, the chairman, are a bit more out front and a bit more communicated with the players. I think that's with the fans, sorry, because I think you have to get fans on your side. Yes. You get them on your side by results, by getting them results in the right way, the Ipswich way, which is the DNA of playing football, but attacking football. And you get them on your side by communicating with them. However, whether it's social media, you've got to speak to them. That's how I see it.
As a club legend, and you are a club legend, one of the best that's ever played for us, are you welcome back at any point? Are you able just to rock up and have a bit of lunch and socialise with the players? And how are ex-players, treated?
I don't know. I've never. The truth is, I've only come back once, and that was for Sunderland against Ipswich in a game back in, I don't know what date of the year it was. but I've never come back as a player. But I was saying that I can't wait to go back this season. I had all the plans to go back. The season just gone, but it didn't happen. But I'm definitely going to come back this season for 1 or 2 games and spend a weekend up in Ipswich, because I've always wanted to do that. I don't know how I'm going to go about doing that yet, because all my lines really of communication have gone. I knew Matt Gill. I played with him at Exeter, and I was his coach at Bristol Rovers. So I stay in touch with him. So he was my main line, and I'm sure I can get in touch with 1 or 2 of the media guys there.
You'll have to drop Brett Johnson a line on LinkedIn.
Don't worry, I've got his digits. We can sort that out. We can sort that right out. Don't worry.
So eventually I will want to come back. Yes, definitely. Can't wait for the watch.
As we close, I've just got a little bit of a game, if you like. I'm just going to mention the kind of players you played with, or a town history for one thing or another. I just want you to give us your thoughts on them, and what comes to mind, really, if that's okay. First one really is Mick McCarthy. You mentioned him earlier, but Mick McCarthy.
Listen, I've got full respect for Mick, and I know it didn't go well between him and the fans. I'm talking as a player to manager relationship. He is top man. Top man.
What
so honest. Like we speak about the honesty and the communication. With Mick, you knew where he stood, and that's what I want. I don't want people telling me, "Listen, you're not playing today because I just want to play in for now." Mick was just straight down the line. Marcus, you're not playing today. You were rubbish last week. This is why you were rubbish. I'll show you. But don't get me wrong, you're going to play the next game. And that's how Mick was, to your face. So I liked him for that. He wasn't too damning with things. He was honest with you, and he told you how you could get better to make it better. And that's all I wanted as a player. That's all I wanted.
Sixto Peralta.
Sixto, great. Really good player. Great left foot. Yeah, great left foot. Probably didn't do as much as he should have done at the club, but good player. Great technical player.
Absolutely. Martin Reusser.
Oh, God. I love Martin. God, I love his hair as well. He's always just like so pristine.
He was.
God's sake. But Martin, he's so good looking. I hope you're not a really nice person as well. But he was a nice person as well. I was like, for God's sake, there's nothing not to like about Martin. He's a great footballer, he's great looking, and he's a really good lad. So yeah, gutted.
Yeah, a really great footballer though. He's
got some iconic moments. You think of the 2 playoff games, for instance, both very similar types of finishes at both really good moments in the game. The Bolton one, and then obviously the playoff final where he comes on and scores. If you wanted anyone in that position at that moment in time who was as calm as me, it was him next.
Good play. And also the free kick in the Premier League against Bradford, was it? Rich?
Oh, I don't remember that one.
One against Bradford, there's one against West Ham away. Actually, when Marcus, I'll see that the other day. It should have been a penalty because Marcus was brought down by Stuart Pearce. It was actually in the area, but he gave it right on the edge, and then Royce had just bent it in the corner. Anyway.
Where's the VAR when you need it? Hey, Rich? Bloody hell.
How would you, talking of VAR, how would you think you would handle that, Marcus? Because obviously now, would you celebrate? Because now it's a little bit...
Oh, I think your natural instinct is to celebrate, but I think I have to give or take 10, 20 seconds. I think you're going to be like, oh, shit, let's wait a minute. But I think it's a natural instinct, I mean, if you look at the goals the other night, there's a natural instinct to celebrate, but then once you finish, that raw emotion stops after 20, 30 seconds.
It's like the goalie, wasn't it?
They are, sorry?
It's like the Switzerland goalie in the penalty shootout against France when he saved Mbappe's penalty, and then he's looking at the ref, just waiting for that nod that his foot was on the line before he could celebrate.
There's some sort of petition for like 250,000 people in France to put a petition out saying that his foot wasn't on the line to get the game replayed.
Welcome to Twitter, my friend. Welcome to Twitter.
No wonder you're off Twitter.
Absolutely. Herman O'Riderson.
Oh, crazy, great guy, but crazy. Just a really good personality, like funny. If a Viking's been reborn, it's him. He's just crazy.
Yeah, and what you see, what you get with him, do you think?
A great guy as well. A great guy. And
Where was his best position for you? Left back, centre back? What was
good everywhere. I mean, I think he was a good left back. You know, marauded for instance, the Southampton game away when he's done a little free and cut the ball back for me header for the goal. I think it depended who was playing where in the opposition. I think you could play left back or centre half. I wouldn't say. I think he was really good at both of them. He wasn't a master at one of them.
Yeah, marauding for a big guy as well.
Yeah, athletic, strong. Yeah.
Marcus Bent just slightly pipped you on the transfer fee, but Marcus Bent.
Benty's a really good lad as well. But he's his own man, Benty. You know, very kind person. You know, I remember he came to my son's birthday party. Obviously back when I was at Ipswich, and he brought him came along and brought him a lovely present. Didn't ask him to do. A very kind-hearted man, and obviously a great player. Had loads of clubs. People go on about his attitude. He's got a bit of but he had a confidence about him. But he wasn't. He fitted in with the lads. That's for sure. But he was just a confident person, you know. But not a bad bone in his body. Very kind person, and obviously a great player. You know, he had a great career.
Yeah, instinctive finisher. Is it fair to say?
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. But quick as well, strong. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a goalkeeper that crossed enemy lines, replaced Richard Wright in Andy Marshall. You played with him as well.
Yeah. What can I say about Marshy? Marshy was a great goalie as well. I mean, and just a good, quiet lad that kept himself to himself. He wasn't. He was a team player, but he was a good lad, but in a different way, you know.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Marcus. A lot of fans still have this argument today in 2021. If George had kept with Matteo, we could have survived the Premier League season. Who, for you, looking back, was perhaps the edge in being the better goalkeeper? Matteo and Andy?
Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. That closes the argument, Crunch. Because fans still talk about it now, don't they?
It's a tough one. I remember going to I think it's the FA Cup game when he didn't want to play, did he? He tired. He was tired, and the pitch was a little bit. And then Marshall got his. It was always obviously hard, Marcus, for Andy Marshall coming in with his history playing for Norwich.
Tell me how a player can be tired. A goalie, especially. Please tell me that.
How did you never play for England, Marcus? That's what Mike Brown wants to know.
Listen, you had Teddy Sheringham, you had Andrew Cole, you had Robbie Fowler, you had Michael Owen, Emilescu back then. I had no chance, guys. You know,
well, you should have done because you're the best player for me that's never played for him.
Listen, what I would say, and I said this right, if Gareth Southgate was probably the manager at that time, had the mentality Gareth Southgate has now, I might have got a couple of caps because I think he would give me a chance.
Yeah,
in like a nations game or a friendly somewhere, and give other players a rest. You know, the really regular. I think he would have given me a chance. But that's just how it is. Managers have evolved, and the system's evolved. How you look after players and bring players in and give them a go. You know, but at that time, with that manager, with those players around, I wasn't going to get a chance, and that's just how it is. Of course, I hope, of course, to get a chance, but looking back now, I didn't have a chance. No.
Yeah. And last question, and it is last question from me. You mentioned Emil Heskey. When I spoke to Titus Bramble, he said the best striker he'd ever faced was Emil Heskey for various different reasons. As a centre forward, who is the best defender you ever faced, and why?
John Terry and Rio Ferdinand. John Terry, because he was so streetwise at the age of 18, 19. He was acting like a 35-year-old Chiellini. You know, he was that clever, bright, combative, no fear sort of centre half for that reason at that age. And obviously, as he's gone older, he's gone on to doing loads of things.
One of the best.
And Rio Ferdinand, he's like a Rolls Royce with a ball at his feet. You know, can sprint, can read the game, elegant, can pass the ball. A modern day sort of centre half that would probably fit into our team quite well as well. You know, the England team now as it stands. He just had that control and composure on the ball. And never looked like he was in a hurry. Never. So I couldn't get anywhere near him with the ball. He just,
Perfect.
For that reason, them two.
Anything else? Because I've had a thoroughly enjoyable afternoon. It's been such a good chat with you, Marcus. I'm honestly really humbled that you've come on the show, and I can't thank you enough. And have you got anything before we leave, Crunch, Kate?
Just thanks for providing me with the tools for the international language of football. So I feel very grateful. I'm sorry that our paths never crossed in a professional sense, because I would have loved to have interviewed you. So it's been a dream today. So thank you, and thank you, Guv, for the opportunity.
Nice.
Cheers, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for letting me know. I'm sorry I'm a little bit jaded today, but I'm sure you can understand why. A little bit.
I'm surprised you're not more jaded. I'm disappointed you're not more jaded, because it's England in a semi.
I didn't feel too bad, is the honest truth. I didn't obviously celebrate too much. So, yeah, I'm a bit jaded, but I'm all right. I'm okay. I'll get over it. Good night, sleep, and perhaps normal tomorrow. That's the case, isn't it? Where did you watch it anyway, you guys? Where did you watch it before you? Let me tell me where you watched the game.
Just at home.
We done a show last night. We actually had a fan on, Marcus, who was at the game in Rome.
Did you?
Yeah, he was a Town fan. I see it on Facebook. He was there, and I sent him a message hoping he was going to reply, and he did. And then he was outside the stadium. Yeah, just before you go, prediction for Wednesday.
Oh, it's going to be close. 3-1 to England.
Is that close? Is it?
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be close. I think if we get an early goal, it'd be hopefully a similar sort of performance to the other night. I think an early goal is key. Where did you watch it, Kate?
Okay, so the kickoff was at 3:00 last night. So what I did is I set my alarm for 7:00, and we can watch the BBC here. So I watched it at 7 with my breakfast, peace and quiet, before my husband and baby got up.
Great. Brilliant. Great. Okay, what about Wednesday? Where's everyone going to watch it Wednesday?
I'm in Scotland.
In my professional opinion, the irony of you asking me, let's go for 2-1, Kane with a brace.
Kane with a brace. And where are you going to watch it, guys?
I'm in Scotland, Marcus. I'm on holiday. I'm going to the Highlands. So,
lovely.
All of Wednesday around Scotland, I'm going to be wearing my England shirt with pride.
Oh, you were talking about this tonight, weren't you? Oh, God.
Yeah. I'm wearing my shirt, but not hanging the flag out the hotel window because my missus said you can't do that. I'm taking it with me, and I might try.
You're taking a risk, mate.
Oh, Richard,
you're taking a risk, Rich.
I'll be doing a show. I've been doing it from home. I'll be doing a show from home. Yeah, I'll be doing a show. Same we've done all through the Euros. So a pre-game, half-time, and post-game show, and then hopefully get a few fans on, have their opinion as we march into a final. But you can't change where you watch it now, Marcus. Like, it's about omens. Like, I need a haircut and a beard trim, but not until England are out. This is it. Yeah. This is it now, because if I cut it and we lose, I'll forever blame myself. So, it's that lucky charm. And I was a lucky charm player. I would put my right foot on first and the captain's armband on second and all those sorts of different things. And I was a big horseshoe sort of person. But Marcus, today's been absolutely epic. I can't thank you enough. And we're back tomorrow night, 8:30. Come on, England. And Marcus, again, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Awaydaysbeer.com. Proud to partner with Talking Town. For only $14.99, grab your ITFC Legends Pack from The Beat to Hoppy Robson to Brazil's Best and Pablo's Pal. Whatever you need, whatever you want. ITFC Legends Pack, $14.99 at awaydaysbeer.com. Grab it today. MassCreations are proud partners of Talking Town. High quality web and software development. From web development to SEO and everything in between, make your vision a reality with MassCreations. Call 07896 904 571 or visit MassCreations.